What is sprint-based football? Let's start off by what it's not. It's not 3-hour practice. You don't lift after the 3-hour practice. By the way, this is stuff that I've been through. I mean, like, I've been through all this stuff. Because I was a football coach for 25 years, but none as the head coach. So I just had to be a loyal soldier. You know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah, keep your mouth shut. No Saturday running. No brutal film sessions. No physical punishment. No conditioning at the end of practice. There's no military slogans in the locker room. At Plainfield North, we had, it must have cost $1,000, but it was like a full wall Navy SEAL creed or something. Yeah, it was like, it's not about doing hard things to develop toughness. And it's not the old adage that practice is the hell you have to go through to get to play in the game. That is just not what sprint-based football is. So right away, some people are probably thinking like, this sounds like it's not going to be football then. It's still football, let me tell you. Well, we also do not applaud when in Hoosiers, Gene Hackman, playing Norman Dale, said, "My practices are not designed for your enjoyment." We don't high five and say, hell yeah, we're going to kill those kids. Nah, we're not going to do that. It's not this.
Come on, man, hurry up, man. One big push-up, go. One big jump.
It's not this. By the way, this is not some secret expose somebody snuck a camera in. No, this is stuff the coach was so proud about that they put it out there for the world to see. Like, this is what we do at Jenks in Oklahoma City. It's not this. We don't bring military people in and put kids through this stuff because it makes them tough or something. It's not this. Somebody said, well, you shouldn't criticize this team because they've won like 80% of their games in Texas. That's all right. Maybe if they didn't do this, they'd win 90. It's not this. Once again, like, I think this should get a coach fired. That could just roll down the concrete stairs. I think this should get a coach fired, but these coaches are proud of this stuff because that's the way we were brought up, right? I mean, this is what we were brought up with. Now, I do think it is this. This is my favorite. I think we'd all need to have a strong core, and so... Look at that guy's face. I mean, once again, this was not somebody trying to get somebody fired. This was somebody like, hey, video this.
Make sure you keep reiterating. You do this workout here, it's really good work, man. And I know this makes you a better football player, but it makes you a better team. I'll keep saying it over and over, okay? Players win games, but teams win championships. Our objective, you have one. Win a championship. Okay, this guy is making like $6 million a year. Probably going to get fired. They weren't very good this year. And I think that whenever you're doing stuff and you have to tell your kids, I know it won't make you a better player, but it will make us a better team, then you're doing like tough guy bullshit, and that's not feed the cats football. That's not what I'm talking about. But this is the way we were brought up, that we did hard things to get tough. And the best way to get guys tough is to get them really tired or make them hurt. That's what getting tough was all about. But I think getting tough is totally different. I think that Navy SEALs are real tough. I think these guys here, they're tougher than hell. That water's cold. They've been, yeah. But if you put them in high heels on a tightrope, I don't think they're tough anymore. I think toughness is task specific. Toughness is executing, doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, no matter what. So old school tough was all about burning the steak every day. It was all about your guys never being healthy. Somehow that made us tougher. If everybody's like limping out to practice, that was like acceptable.
It's about getting progressively slower throughout the season because it's a grind. Matter of fact, we called it a grind. We worship the grind. Old school had an unyielding faith that hard work wins games. And some of you probably feel that, or, it's a residual thing from our upbringing. That the harder it is, the better we are in the fourth quarter and all that kind of crap. I believe that dumb is undefeated against dumber, so teams can be really dumb and still win. Have you ever watched a game when neither team deserved to win? I've watched several. Dumb is undefeated against dumber. Sprint-based football, on the other hand, is we want to make a profit every day. Did you see Les walk in? Les Bellman said, when I met you, Les, in 2022, you said that if you make a profit every day, you'll never go broke. I'm like, I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that because that's what we want. You know that 1% thing, if we're 1% better every day for a year, we're 37 times ourselves at the end of the year. If we're 1% worse every day, we're like 0.03% of our former self. So we want to make a profit every day. We always want to be healthy. Always, always, always. Sprint-based football teams typically play for like a state championship because they win all their games. And when they play for the state championship, their entire roster is healthy. Garrett Mueller, last year, you were almost like 100% healthy. How about this year? One kid. Roster, how big?
We got
70. 70? So 69 out of 70 healthy. I've entered the first game before where we had 20% of our guys out. 20%. Oh, by the way, I think it's important too, if you're not fast, you're not healthy. If you are 2 miles an hour slow, you're not a healthy person. We get progressively faster throughout the season. These guys, these coaches that, of course, if you don't time people, you don't know this. But if you time people, you know this. And typically, sprint-based football teams have over half their guys in their final 14th week of the season running personal records in that final week. So it's not progressively getting slower. We get faster because we never burn the stick. If you can get kids to love practice, if you make practice the best part of a kid's day, practice will improve. You will improve. You will become inspired, enthusiastic. You will go home and kiss your wife instead of go home apologetic. There's a lot of families that aren't very good families because of football. And I think sprint-based football will help that. I believe that speed, power, and execution wins games, not toughness. Now, you could argue that you have to be mentally tough to execute, okay. But you're just performing. I love this book. I'm halfway through it right now. It just came out. And what I've learned so far is that the reason why humans dominate the earth is we are fabulous imitators. I have a 3-year-old granddaughter that knows about a million things. She has not learned a million things from a teacher writing on the board. She hasn't learned from reading. She has not learned from paragraphs. What has she learned from? Imitation. As a teacher, we need to stop talking all the time and telling kids to listen. It's the worst way to learn. Best way to learn? Demonstrate, imitate. Demonstrate, imitate. Now, there's bad things too, because if you're around people that talk with a southern accent, you're going to talk with a southern accent. If you're around Republicans, you're going to be a Republican. If you're around Democrats, because we're imitators. 90% of all people are the political party of their parents. 90% of all people are the religion of their parents, because we imitate. It becomes who we are. So it's so hard for all of us who learned football from our old coaches to break free of those beliefs. It's really hard. We are copycats. We copy reality TV stars, recruiters of freaks and cheats and first-round draft choices. College football is a rigged game and a billion-dollar entertainment industry Legendary programs have legendary advantages. I sat on the patio with Ryan Grubbs, who's now return to play guy for the Houston Texans. And I said, what's the biggest thing wrong with S&C today? He was at Purdue at the time. He said, everybody wants to know what Alabama does. They just copied Alabama. Why? Because they won national championships. Screw that. Stop trying to copy people that aren't like us. When you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. This is a counter-current. It feels like everybody feeds the cats now to me, but I realize we're still in the minority, maybe always will be in that minority, but it's really important to realize that the majority is seldom right. So, the revolution. Feed the Cat sprint-based football is all about winning is more important than hard work. Our goal is not hard work. Our goal is to win. The performance is more important than effort. Every football coach is in love with the word effort. They probably have it tattooed on their chest or something. Effort. You know why? Because if your team is too tired to perform, what's the best they can give you? Effort. They can try hard. They're slow and sloppy, but they can try hard at least. Well, I'm saying screw effort, let's perform. But we have to change some things. Feed the Cats coaches, do not blame losses on the defaults. The defaults are, we're not tough enough. We're not good enough shape. They want it more than us. You've heard all those things, right? It's all BS. You know, I mean, it's probably the fumbles, interceptions, and missed tackles. That's probably, and the pre-snap penalties, if you're the Bears. You know, I mean, like there's probably reasons why you lost that has nothing to do with toughness, conditioning, or attitude. But man, we're in love with those things as football coaches. You prioritize speed in and out of the season. You stop chasing aerobic fitness. You let the games be the hardest thing you do. Oh. My dad, 47 years, high school and college coach, 44 of the 47, a head coach. I mean, he was the real deal. He used to tell every team, we're going to practice so hard the games are going to be easy. And we all went like this. That made sense. But you know, after a game, you take a day off to recover. What if your practices are harder than games? Is the next day off? Hell no, it's another hard practice. So it's this downward spiral that happens. But of course, nobody knew it because we never timed sprints. We never tested vertical jump. We never tested athleticism. We just kept practicing hard. That's all we did. I say that your practice should be 50 to 60% of your game volume. Wow. I'm going totally against what my dad believed. By the way, if he was here right now, he'd be shaking his head like this. I was wrong for 47 years. Because that's how he coached for 47 years, is because he was willing to evolve, whereas most coaches have it all figured out when they're 22 and spend the rest of their life defending it. That's who I am. Evolve. Weekends off. Oh my God, weekends off. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if your kids had weekends off the way they would feel on Sunday? They're missing it. You want your kids to miss it. RPR is very important. Every sprint-based football team does RPR. You need to attract the best athletes in your school. This is really important because it used to be that every kid that could play football played football, and it's not the case anymore. There's at least 5 guys on your school's basketball team that could start for you, even if they've never put on pads in their life. They could start for you and be good for you, and they don't want to be in your program because of what you do to people in the summer and the grind and all that crap. You want to attract athletes to your program. I used to think that track coaches were the only people like that really had to sell it. Football coaches now better sell it. Now, if you're winning every game, that sells it too. But most of us don't win every game. Injury-free. As we said, Garrett's team, 14-0 last year. 1 kid hurt for the championship game. 14-0 this year. 1 kid hurt for the... Now, if a kid runs into a goalpost or something, they're going to get hurt. But most injuries are preventable. And I think one of the key things, one of them's RPR, and one of them's sprinting, and the other thing is load. I think 90% of injuries are load problems. Stop breaking kids. My coach, football coach, used to say, I remember everything he ever said. He's been gone for 15 years. But I remember everything Roger Wilcox ever said. And he used to say, we're going to break you down. Then we're going to build you back stronger. They broke us, man. They broke us in the first practice of two-a-days. They broke us. I can't imagine what those practices look like looking back. I was a quarterback, starting quarterback, and I was broken. I can't imagine if you had a wide receiver and you were broken. They didn't care. And it's all about winning. If Feed the Cats, if sprint-based football did not win, it would not be a thing. It would not be a thing. If the only way to win was to grind and punish kids and work 3 hours a day, 8 days a week, all that kind of stuff, that's the way I'd do it. Because we're here to win. And I think this is so important. The kids inspire coaches, and coaches are reborn. If you get to teach or coach an enthusiastic group, it will change you. We can't help it. We reflect our team. Our team reflects us. Does it work? Ask Brad Dixon if it works. Now, his record was pretty damn good before that, but since he started feeding the cats, he's 73-11. Ask Garrett Mueller, 28 consecutive. I call Brad in my upcoming book the Godfather of sprint-based football, and I call Garrett Godfather too. Two guys, and they coach at two different states, two different size schools. Rick Aaron, I love this story because he was 165 and 61 when his track coach came to him and said, you got to look into this Feed the Cat stuff. And he was like, what is it? Since he started feeding the cats, he's been 95 and 7. You say, well, he was good before that. Yeah, but he's better now. He went from 75% winning percentage to 93. Talk to Rick Aaron about what it's like to focus on performance and speed instead of the grind, mental toughness, and getting tired every day. Eric Becker, Daniel Hand High School in Connecticut. State championship last year, 23 consecutive wins, just won last night. John Hersel's going to be hosting, now he's not a football coach, but he's the S&C guy at Saraland, Alabama. They're 13-0. And he's hosting our clinic January 17th and 18th, just right outside of Mobile, Alabama. It's going to be great. Dan Quisenberry, Ravenwood High School, just south of Nashville. They're 13-1 this year. They lost to Houston's 27-24. They knew they were going to be in the finals, and they didn't get there. But I think they have 5 of their sports programs feeding the cats now. 5. One of my favorites, Pedro Aruza, Randolph-Macon College in Virginia. Since he started feeding the cats, 57 and 6. So you say, oh, this only works at like Camp Point Central out in the middle of a cornfield. No, it can work anywhere. This is what Pedro sent me. He said, you'll like this, coach. Our first 4 days of practice, we went high, low, high, 60 minutes apiece. Day 4 off. We continued with 3 on, 1 off. We kept our practice at 60 minutes. Wouldn't you like to see those practices? God, can you imagine how exciting those practices would be if you had... Amazing. Eric Corum was with the Houston Texans, sports science, Anyway, he's spoken at 2 TFCs. I think every coach should be uncomfortable with how little they do in the first week. The only thing I disagree with, I think it should be uncomfortable with the second week, the third week, and the fourth week. And I love the word uncomfortable because if you do this stuff, it will bug you. Brad Dixon talks about how it bugged him when wide receivers walk back to the huddle. You know how that pisses off, like coaches? But if he walks back, he'll run a faster route on the next one. We don't care about hustle. We care about performance. It is changing. Kyle Bolton We got all excited when we heard that TCU, who was picked 7th in their conference, played Michigan for the national championship and got thumped. But we heard all about how they speed trained 3 times a week. They spent more money at TCU on recovery equipment than they did weight room equipment. I love it. So we had Kyle Bolton speak at TFC Sacramento a couple years ago. And he's a good friend now, good friend of Les. And he's taken his stuff to Oregon now. It's worked out pretty well, I think. I think they're a pretty good team. We got Les up here. I met Les in 2022, so I was totally starstruck because I knew that Les had trained the number 2 pick, number 6 pick, number 7 pick, number 8 pick, number 19 pick, number 21 pick in the NFL draft in 2022. That's a pretty good resume. What a lot of people don't know is Les worked very closely with the University of Arizona, which was really bad. You know, if you're 5-7 in college football, like 3 of those wins came against teams you paid $1 million to beat. You know, like, you know, teams that they can't play with you. You can't bet on them because you're going to win by so many points. So they went 5-7 in 2023. In 2024, they went 10-3. So good that everybody left. You know, their S&C staff left, their coaches left. You know, they got jobs elsewhere because they're. But anyway, Les really installed this focus on max velocity, speed, performance, health, all the things that win, instead of the old school crap.